welcome back to Women's AM. This morning we are joined by Sister Nusrat, Sister Laika and Sister Naveed to continue our discussion on the history of Ramadan. We are a live show, so please do call the studio to put your comments or questions to the panel. The number is on your screens now. So inshallah, or you can tweet us at Islam Channel, #WAM15. Alhamdulillah, it's been a really fruitful discussion right now, but I wanted to move on to sort of the notable events that happened during the time of Ramadan. Sister Laika, I believe you've got some interesting facts for us.
Yeah, I mean, if we actually, Sister Naveed, if she starts off with the...
Naveed, yeah, it's me. A lot of things happened in the month of Ramadan when we look to the history of Islam. The very first battle in Islam took place in the month of Ramadan. It was the Battle of Badr, which achieved its victory. We saw the fact that Fatah Makkah happened in the month of Ramadan, and this happened without a battle, so it was a peaceful march that went into Makkah. The Battle of Trench, the training period for this was during the month of Ramadan, which once again, it tells us, as we were discussing earlier, that not the days of Ramadan shouldn't be the same as the other days of our life, and how daily activity also carries on. So the preparation for this Battle of the Trench, it carried on, and the training carried on. The battle itself actually took place the following month, in the month of Shawwal. The Battle of Tabuk, the setting up of the base of that battle also took place in the month of Ramadan. So the Sahaba and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the people around him carried on with these activities just like they would have in any other month, and if not, they were more zealed with the fact that the rewards are going to be multiplied even more.
SubhanAllah, I think that's kind of brings off like a light bulb in my head, like, my goodness, look at what they had to go through, the sort of things that they had to do during the time of Ramadan, what they had to endure, and the fact that they did it and they were successful in what they did. And then here's us, well, I'll talk for myself anyway, moaning about how long Ramadan is going to be. The days are going to be incredibly long. It might, you know, we're trying to make it easy for ourselves, trying to find shortcuts, you know, of not having to feel the fast as much as we can. And you know, as Muslims in our history, this is what we've achieved, and it kind of makes me feel a little bit embarrassed about myself. SubhanAllah.
A lot of it tend to sometimes go back to the yaqeen, the conviction they had as well, because generally if you don't have conviction in a belief or in a practice, it's not likely to sometimes propel you to better yourself. I think as well, one of the impacts of that we learn actually from the conquests and all of that is that how implementing or even striving in Allah's cause is something that should not be restricted to one time. So, for example, we have even people like Abdullah ibn Masud. He didn't restrict his practice of Ramadan to just being that 1 month, and this is actually conveyed with the hadith by Jabir bin Abdullah when he said, "When you fast, then let your ears and eyes and your tongue fast from false statement and bad deeds, and be calm, and don't let the day you're fasting and the day you're not fasting be the same." And that's related in Ibn Abi Shayba. So the idea that that following the rules of Allah was not something that they were restricted to one part. They continued that, and that's the purpose of Ramadan. Yeah. It's meant to be something that allows you to renew your covenant with Allah and propel you to better yourself in your faith and in terms of your purification spiritually.
Yeah. SubhanAllah.
It definitely wasn't just conquests and battles that the month of Ramadan, that events taking place in Ramadan. It was also, you know, the Prophet went through a lot of trials and tribulations during the month of Ramadan. He lost his wife, Khadija anha, during the month of Ramadan, and it shows, you know, that period of time was called the year of grief because he also lost his uncle Abu Talib, and it shows that the Prophet did not have it easy. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not have it easy. He had it very hard, you know, losing his support system, you know, his wife and his uncle. It was very difficult for him, and it still shows that, you know, he still overcame that. And even though it happened during the month of Ramadan, it shows them, you know, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think.
SubhanAllah.
Even when you read about the traditions of the Sahaba, you wonder when they slept, because they would spend the night in ibadah and the day in these activities, whether it was related to family activity, their businesses, attending to their work, or their battles, or preparing for whatever it was that they needed to do in their community and society. And you wonder, when did they actually sleep? So
I think it is important that we're discussing this today, because we don't tend to know about all the events surrounding the time of Ramadan and during Ramadan, and that's why we tend to kind of think that Ramadan is just about a fast, it's just about trying to get through the day and then having iftar and doing tarawih. And I think it's really, really important that we mentioned all of this, because I feel like I've learned a lot, subhanAllah, and I think I'm going to go back on this and think to myself, okay, what am I going to do that I haven't done before, you know, to make this, you know, the best Ramadan that I've ever had, subhanAllah. But then we look at, you know, the year 582 AH. Why was this this such a significant year, Sister Laika?
So in this year, Saladin al-Ayyubi was battling the Crusaders, and they managed to attain the land of Jerusalem back. So it's pretty amazing that, you know, again, we're talking about battles. They're going through a lot of difficult times, and during the month of Ramadan, they were able to you know, regain this kind of land.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, and I think what makes it even more significant is apparently it happened during Ramadan. I think we're getting so many examples today about, you know, things that happen during Ramadan that we probably don't even think about normally.
And I think one of the key things is the fact that how the Muslims in the Muslim world have constantly lived in heat, and the temperatures have always been high. And us that are living here in Britain, for example, we only get heat once in a while during Ramadan, and it's like a big deal for us that, you know, we've got a summer Ramadan.
This particular event, though, it happened on the anniversary of Isra and Miraj, which is amazing, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like, convenience of it. I don't know. It just seems like a miracle that all these things that happen during Ramadan.
So we have even the revelation of Abrahamic Scripture. We have in Ramadan the Gospel was revealed to Jesus, so the Injil. The Torah was revealed to Moses. We even have the Book of Psalms revealed to Prophet David. So we see that
the Quran.
Exactly. So this constant banner of like guidance has always been given. So that actually shows, or is one of the various manifestations of Allah's mercy to us.
MashaAllah. So what kind of messages can we, you know, put out there, or what kind of lessons can we draw from the history that we've learnt today to kind of propel us forward to having a better Ramadan this year?
I think one of the things that we can draw is the essence of sacrifice and struggle, and the reward that comes from that. That yes, Allah does know it is difficult for us, and this is mentioned in Surah Baqarah as well. The fact that Allah knows it's difficult for us, but it will be made easy. And this is something very much to draw from, considering the social political climate that we live in, where Muslims face issues and difficulties maintaining their faith in various contexts. So drawing from the inspiration of the Sahaba and of the conquest and the events that happen should be something that empowers and emboldens us to further strengthen in striving to please Allah.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair for that, Sister. Sister Laika, what's your take-home message from this today?
I think for me, you were talking about the conquest. The fact that they were incredibly long-lasting and they still exist to this day, I think is very inspirational. And for me especially, I really want to make the most of this month and just go forward being very positive and, you know, spending a lot of time with my family.
Alhamdulillah, Sister Naveed.
I think for me, the fact that, you know, the month of Ramadan is beautiful in itself, but the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it even more easier for us by dividing it into the three ashras, the fact that how each segment is divided into 10 days, and even if we focus on each segment of the mercy, the forgiveness and the protection from hellfire, and actually home in on these areas, we can actually organize and deal with our time in a way where we can be successful. So it's an opportunity, Ramadan is an opportunity to reconnect, to reflect and to change and to improve, and we should make the most of that, inshallah, and trying to understand the rights of the Quran over us, and also not to just see Ramadan as a month of inward spiritual reflection and purification, but to also see it as a time of sacrifice and struggle that has been a feature of the month of Ramadan throughout all of our history.
SubhanAllah, Jazakallah khair for that, sisters. Really, really important take-home messages, and ones I'll definitely be taking on this Ramadan. Jazakallah khair for that. Today, the Muslim world is faced with drought, military aggression, widespread corruption and tempting materialism. Surely we are in need of believers who can walk in the footsteps of our beloved Prophet ﷺ, the illustrious Sahaba and the countless heroes of Islam. Surely we are in need of believers who are unafraid of the threats of this world, but who are kind and humble to people. Muslims whose fast is complete and not just an exercise of hunger and thirst. This has been a really informative discussion, but if you've missed any of it, all is not lost. You can catch the repeat tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. inshallah. And of course, you can catch the highlights from this week on Sunday at 3 p.m. But before we go, here's another quick reminder of this week's competition.
This week in Women's AM, we are holding an exciting competition for you